بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We continue Sunday, April 14, 2019, 4:26 p.m., which is the 8th of Sha'ban, 1000, or Sunday, the 8th of Sha'ban, the year 1440 after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ. On this day, we continue now in preparation for Ramadan. As we are asking the sisters some questions in regards to seeing what's their level of knowledge as far as teaching, I think one of the good methods of teaching is to ask questions. To ask questions so you can hear the type of, or to hear the level of, or based upon the answers that the people give, you know their level of knowledge and where they are. So you can see where the khalal, or where the discrepancy lies, and you try to strengthen their weaknesses. For preparation for Ramadan, I wanted to ask the sisters some questions and to see, just like I said, where their level is. For example, I wanted to ask the sisters, them these questions. For the most part, alhamdulillah, the sisters seem like they have benefited in regards to the ahkam, in regards to their ments, to what's connected with Ramadan. Because we said, of course, and we established, just to keep everything simple, that if a woman is on her ments, then we know it's not permissible for a woman to fast, to pray, and to all those other ahkam that comes along with that. And if a woman, likewise, or sister is on her, what they call istihada, or some of Ahl Ilm يعبروا به بعض أهل العلم بأنه دم فساد or دم عرق بعضهم يعبرونه بهذا التعبير. Some of them say that the meaning of istihada, some of them say the correct, or the other word that they use, or the other term that Ahl Ilm use, they call it damu irq. And some of them call it damu fasad, a hemorrhage or broken vein, or they call it a blood of a damu irq, of a vein, or some of them call it damu fasad, the blood of, they said corrupted blood, but it means more than likely something of a kick from shaitan. As we discussed that in the last class, that initially that when a woman has what they call istihada, is due to something of an aggravated vein, which came as a result of it, a hemorrhage, where that is not immense. And the Prophet ﷺ said that shaitan comes to the woman to aggravate and to cause her turmoil and misery by confusing her by either, number one, making her confused in regards to her ments, or it being istihada. So that's the two type of blood that usually emanates from the woman, and it usually doesn't go outside of that too. It's either mens, or postnatal bleeding, of course, or it's istihada. And there's no third. There isn't a third type of blood. It's only mens, and it's hayd, or it's istihada. There's only hayd, and we have istihada. There is no third. The problem is that with a lot of women, what they go through these days, they can't distinguish which one of the two that they're upon or what they're on. That's the problem. And it's due to a lot of elements and a lot of things that women do, either due to the diets they eat, or due to the medicines they take, or due to some sickness, or what have you, or injury. All of this are factors and elements of what can affect the woman's what? Their ments, and how it is regulated. It's thrown off. Some of it will be normal, then all of a sudden it will become abnormal due to some type of influence on it, either, like we said, due to some medicine, or due to some herbs, or due to one's diet, or what have you. The problem is knowing how to distinguish between the two. And that's where a lot of women become mixed up. We made it and break it down simple as much as possible. In the lessons we gave last year, we said number one, you either have the type which is called wasf or ada, which is called the wasf, either by the description of the blood, whether it be dark, thick, and has a smell, to the end of it. And we also gave the second type, which you'll find that Al-Ilm say that's the best way that a woman can determine whether or not she's on her mens or not, which is called Al-Ada, based upon when her mens was regulated. That we know that a woman on a certain time of the month, especially for women who has a normal mens, it comes on at a specific time, usually. They'll come on, and the woman usually knows when her mens is about to come on due to the time, and also likewise, it usually comes along with that symptoms. Usually a woman starts to feel weak, or she starts to feel cramps to the end of it. Usually those are signs that is a mens. That usually that is the clear signs to let her know that the blood that's about to come is truly a mens. The hukum, or the ruling in regards to what we discussed, all come to play when the woman has the mens. When the blood starts to come out clearly, not spotting, but clearly. Once the mens she sees the blood, it's coming out, she leaves off the salat, she leaves off siyam, to the end of it. Some women asked me, they said in regards to istihada, they asked me, can a woman be intimate with istihada? I said the Islamic ruling is yes. That's the Islamic ruling in Kitab and Sunnah. Because it's not a mens. It's something else. From what was given to me that I've discussed with some of women in my family, I've asked them. I said, is there certain methods that women take in order to stop blood momentarily? They said yes. Women do certain things. They know how to make their blood, if it's not a mens and something else, that they know how to make it stop momentarily. They said there's certain ways that women do it. I don't know if they said they sit in water or what have you. I don't know the methods. But they said there are certain ways that women do take in order to stop blood, to stop it momentarily. So if those methods that the women utilize, but we say that the Islamic ruling is, the person says, oh, that's nasty. Well, I'm just giving you what's in Kitab and Sunnah. That hayd is impermissible for a man to be intimate with his wife in that type of way when she's on her mens. When a woman is on her mens, a man cannot be intimate with her in that manner. Or nor can a woman be intimate with her husband in that manner. Is there other things they can do? Yes, of course. And I think the brothers and sisters know what I'm speaking about. I don't have to go into too much into detail in this regard. But as far as in regards to istihada, then it's not a mens. It's not a mens. If that's the case, the intimacy is permissible, and women do have certain methods that they know how to utilize to stop their blood from coming out, or from now, descending or coming out, or what have you. They have different methods that I've asked certain females, of course, in my family. They said, yes, there is certain methods they can utilize to stop the blood momentarily, if she has what they call istihada. But the ruling is that it's permissible for a woman to be intimate when she's on istihada, not hayd. Not hayd. Not a mens. That's impermissible. But as far as istihada, that's something different. There was also another method. They say usually, or some cases, sometimes a woman can know whether or not she's on her mens, usually by the other women that's in their household, those who are close to her, of her relatives. That's another method that a woman can utilize to know whether or not she's on her mens. Let's just say now, and this is the last question I'm going to ask about this, unless the sisters have a question so I can move on to the other questions I want to ask about Ramadan. Let's just say now, because there has been something that's been brought to me years ago. There was a sister that was sick, and she had blood coming out of her to the point it was consecutive months at a time. It was like one month she had blood coming out, Then became 2 months and then 3 months. So the husband was basically becoming frustrated. He was saying, I'm going to be intimate with my wife, and this is the 3rd month, the 4th month, and there's still blood coming out. So what do I do? So that's the reason why we're discussing these ahkam. And that's the reason why we highly emphasize to our sisters to educate themselves in these ahkam. Because a lot of sister, if you don't want to let the brother get married again, then what is he going to do? This man has to go 3 months, and he was a young brother too. I think he was about in his 20s. He says, going on the 4th month, and she still has blood coming out. What do I do? So the man is becoming what? Harmed. So the sister was asked, so what is it? Is it blood? Is it immense? So I'm asking, is it hayd? Is it istihada? What is it? Because this has happened to a couple of females that I knew, and not in this community, but in other communities. So he said, well, what do we do? So what do we do? So I asked the sister the question, what would you do if a sister asks you, that I'm having this blood that just keeps coming out for consecutive months now, it's been 2-3 months, what do I do? So I'm going to ask the sisters right now, what would she do? What would she do? How would we go about this? As far as everything, as far as her ahkam for fasting, praying, intimacy, what does she do? Keep in mind, she's been having blood coming out for 3 months straight, or 2 months straight. Jade. The sister said, and that is exactly what Ahl-Ilm mentioned. Ahl-Ilm, they say if a woman now has blood coming out for 3 months straight, 2 months straight, she said she would look at the time when her mens was normal, before the sickness started. She would look back to when she had a normal mens, when the time used to come on. When the time it would come at a specific time, habitually, when it was normal, when it was regulated. She'll go back to that time. And that time frame where it was normal, she would leave off the salat and siyam to the end of it, in those particular days. And when it used to normally stop, that's when she would stop. She'll make a ghusl, what have you, right? Then she will be able to resume her prayer and resume her fasting. And if she wanted to, she could even combine her in the salat. So don't forget that. I mean, alhamdulillah, sister gave the correct answer, but it's just an extra benefit I'm mentioning. Also, the woman will wait before the time of the salat to come in. Then she will clean her private part, of course, to clean and purify the area as much as possible. She can. And put a cloth, of course, we know as far as cleanliness and things of that nature, and do everything that is hygienic and pertaining to her hygiene. Then she will make wudu when the salat came in. She will make wudu when the salat came in. If she wanted to, she could combine dhuhr with asr, due to the difficulty. She could combine dhuhr with asr, either in the time, asr in the time of dhuhr, or dhuhr in the time of asr. And the same thing, likewise, when it goes to Maghrib and Isha, she could combine the salah, due to the difficulty. But she will have to do it when the time of the prayer comes in. If she wanted to pray her voluntary prayers, in that particular instance, like we said, she can use the wudu that she used for the salah when it came in. If she wanted to combine, she could utilize the same one or the same wudu for that. There's a question, inshallah, like I said, I'll give the details of it when, matter of fact, alhamdulillah, it's right here. I don't need it. I'll read it quickly. It says, that's the same thing what the sister just mentioned. She gave the right answer, and that is exactly what Ahl-Ilm mentioned. They say, وَكَيْفِيَةُ الصَّلَاةِ لِهَذِهِ وَامْثَالُهَا وَأَن تَغْسِلَ فَرْجَهَا غَسْلًا تَامًا وتعصبه وتتوضأ وتفعل ذلك بعد دخول وقت صلاة الفريضة. I'll just read it quickly in English. He says, how does a woman do as far as how does she perform her prayer in this regard? If this is her situation, what does she do? She said that she will wash her private part completely. Then, of course, she'll purify it and then put whatever type of hygiene to keep it maintained as far as in regards to the padding or what have you, to utilize that. Then she makes wudu. Then she will do that when the time of the prayer came in, meaning the time of the obligatory prayer. She can make wudu, and she would do that. And if she wanted to do something, a voluntary prayer, in the other times, meaning other than the times of the fara'id, meaning for example, for tahajjud or what have you, or witr or what have you, in this particular instance. فإذا أرادت أن تتنافى في غير أوقات الفريضة, she would do the same thing, of course. In this state, of course, if she finds that it's a difficulty, ومن أجل المشقة عليها, if she finds that it's a difficulty, it's permissible for her to combine her salat with asr, dhuhr and asr together. جمعا لا قصرا, gathering the prayers, not shortening them. As we know, some women, they think that when they combine, they can shorten it. No. She would pray dhuhr 4 and pray asr 4. And she could pray asr in the time of dhuhr or dhuhr in the time of asr. Jam'an la qasran, gathering the prayers, not shortening them. And she could do the same with maghrib and isha. Of course, we know maghrib doesn't change. She would pray 3 and she'll pray isha 4. And she can pray in the time of maghrib. She can pray salat al-isha in the time of maghrib, or maghrib in the time of al-isha. حتى يكون عملها هذا واحد للصلاتين. صلاة الظهر والعصر واحدا للصلاتين، صلاة المغرب والعشاء واحدا لصلاة الفجر. As we know, Fajr doesn't combine with anything. بدلا من أن يعمل ذلك 5 مرات تعمله 3 مرات. So instead of her washing for every salah, she's doing this for every prayer, she can now make it easy upon her with 3 what? Make a wudu 3 times, whereas she combined her prayers. He says, and I'll repeat it again. For example, when a woman wants to purify herself, she would cleanse her private part. وَتَعْصِبُهُ, of course, clean it thoroughly, and then put some type of padding or rag or what have you. Use her padding or her rag or the normal things that it's known that women utilize, or anything similar to that. She says until what is happening, it becomes what? Diminished. It becomes a little bit that's coming out to the best of her ability. Then she makes wudu. And she prays. She prays Dhuhr 4, Asr 4, Maghrib 3, Isha 4. And she prays Fajr her normal way, which is 2 rak'ah. And she does not shorten it. Just as some of the common folk, they get the false impression about this. He said, however, it's permissible for her to gather between Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr, into Salat al-Maghrib and Isha. And like we said, it could be either which times or how she wants to do it, as long as the time of the Salat came in. She cannot pray Dhuhr and Asr in the time before Dhuhr came in. No, she has to wait till Dhuhr comes in. Once Dhuhr comes in, she can now what? She can pray Asr in the time of Dhuhr or Dhuhr in the time of Asr. And then he says, وَإِذَا أَرَادَتْ تَتَنَفَّلْ بِهَذَا الْوُضُوء فَلَا حَرَجَ عَلَيْهَا. And if she wanted to utilize that same wudu when she combined for her voluntary prayers, then she can do that. And there's no problem. There's no problem with that. Is it clear, sisters, what I'm saying? So a woman could combine. She could combine her prayers, like we said, combining, not what? Shortening. Shortening is only for what, sisters? For a traveler. Jade. It's only for a traveler. Traveler can combine and shorten. But when you're in the city, you can, of course, we know in certain circumstances, we could combine, such as when the weather changes and there's difficulties, such as snow, or whether it be even heat. A lot of people think it's not just for the cold. Even severe circumstances as far as heat, or whether it be a difficulty as far as ice, snow, whatever it is. If there's a difficulty, you can combine the prayer for the men in the masajid, not at the homes. The homes, there's not any difficulty because you're home. You don't have to leave out. We're talking about in the masjid. Men can combine, and even the women can combine if they're in the masjid. If they're in the masjid, they can combine due to the difficulty. But the point of the matter is that they would what? Combine it without shortening them. And the same thing for a woman. If this is her circumstance, where she's having a problem with her mens, this is what she would do. So that's the answer to the question in regards to the woman who has a mens for 2 months at a time or 3 months at a time. This is what, blood coming out. Blood coming out for 2 or 3 months at a time. This is what she would do. Oh, she about to call you there? Okay. Should have been that from that. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آتي محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي وعدته. طيب, is there any questions from the sisters before I want to move on to what I want to speak about today? Is there anything? Is there anything from the sisters? I'm sorry, say it again, sister. There isn't any. Jay. طيب, before we move on, now to the sisters, in regards to 3 things I want them to write down for Ramadan. Oh, it's somebody's phone. I'm about to, somebody called you there again. طيب, 3 things I want the sisters to be very attentive of, and those who listen online. 3 things that plays a major part in what we're discussing. Number 1 is إذا كان ناسيا. So number 1 is if one is in a state of forgetfulness. So write that down. Number 2, if one is ignorant. And one is ignorant can break it down to numerous types. It could be the ignorant of the time. It could be ignorant of the ruling. And it could be ignorant of certain other affairs, which we'll discuss inshallah. Don't worry. Even ignorance of the time. We'll talk about that inshallah. So that's the second thing. The third thing is that a person is not doing it intentionally. He's not doing it what? Intentionally. Meaning by his own choice. Right, so those are the third things. So that's the 3 things we wanted the sisters to what? To keep in mind. So number 1 is that person is in a state of forgetfulness. إذا كان ناسيا. إذا كان جاهلا. But if the second one is if he's what? It's in a state, if he's ignorant. If he's ignorant. The third is what? If one is not intentionally doing it. He's not intentionally doing it. He's غير قاصد. طيب. A lot of the fatwa of Ramadan dwells around these 3 things. If you have these 3 things memorized and understood properly, you'll be able to answer a lot of fatwa. A lot of answers, not fatwa. I don't want to say fatwa. That was a slip of the tongue. You'll be able to answer a lot of questions, and you'll be able to what? You'll be able to now know answers for yourself, especially for yourself, of knowing what's the proper ruling. Like, for example, if we know that smoking is impermissible. Smoking a cigarette or weed or whatever is impermissible. Like, if one is fasting, right, everyone, we know that a person, when he wants to smoke weed, firstly, number one, that a person that smokes a cigarette or smokes weed or what have you. Like, we know that the hukm is the ruling in regards to one fasting and he's smoking weed, it breaks his fast. That's number one. All right. So now we just say he broke his fast because he intentionally smoked a cigarette or intentionally what? Smoke weed or what have you. Fine. Let's just say now a person passes by a building that has smoke coming out of it and they inhale it. Does that now break his fast or not? Based upon these three things, what we're mentioning, one can answer the question. What will his sister say? What did she say? I didn't hear. She said no. Why? It wasn't intentional. Jayyid. So a person now is going down the street. Let's just say he walks by a person smoking a cigarette. He inhales it accidentally. We say that that person's fast is not what? Broken. Why? Because of one of these three things we just mentioned. He did not intentionally what? Do it. Rather, that wasn't by his own choice. That was due to someone else that had what? Affected him. So that's the reason why we said these three things are very important in regards to a lot of answers that will come in the month of Ramadan. Fine. Let's give another answer or another question. Of course we know, let's just say in the month of Ramadan, one, you see a person fasting, what have you. They drink 2 bottles of water right in front of you. 2 bottles of water. You didn't say anything. Even if they, let's just say now they eat a whole hamburger, with a burger and a roll and ketchup and everything. What would we say about this person? Is his fast broken or not? Based upon these three things, what would you say? Keep what I just mentioned, those three principles. Keep them down packed. Understand them properly. You'll be able to answer a lot of questions. Like, what did you say about that person? Did they break their fast or not? I don't care if they ate 2 hamburgers. Look at the question. I mean, look at the 3 things that I said. Huh? J. It goes back to the first one, which is what? Forgetfulness. If a person is in a state of absolute forgetfulness and they ate a whole hamburger from the ketchup and sucked their fingers to the end of it. If they're in a state of forgetfulness and you remind them, listen, you're fasting. Oh, I forgot. Their fast is still valid. Now, if they're eating and you remind them and they don't stop, that's when their fast is affected. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So it's incumbent upon one to remind the person, to remind them, and say to them, you're fasting, right? As this has happened to me in Ramadan before. This happened about maybe 8 years ago. I was in the khutbah on Jumu'ah. And everybody knows the first week of Jumu'ah for Ramadan, the masjid is there's nowhere to sit, and it's to the point it's outside for the first week. It's sad to say the first week is, then the rest of the weeks dies down. But at any rate, so in the first, for Jumu'ah, I was giving the khutbah. This happened to myself. I was giving the khutbah, and someone gave me some water, and I drank the water. I drank the water. I drank the water in front of everyone. And I was fasting. And not only did I drink the water, I told the brother to go get me a bottle of water. I said, can you give me a bottle of water? So he ran, got a bottle of water, gave it to me. And I was in the middle of Jumu'ah, giving a khutbah. I drank the water, and I put it down. I was in a state of total forgetfulness. The person after the khutbah reminded me, do you know you was fasting? I said, oh, I forgot. So I continued my fast for that particular day. Why? Because of what, everyone? What? Because of what, sisters? I was in a state of what? Forgetfulness. I was in a state of forgetfulness. It doesn't matter. Even if a person, you see them eating something from the beginning of the meal to the second, if he was not given a warning or she wasn't given a warning, she's in a state of what? Forgetfulness. A state of forgetfulness. Fine. let's just say, all right, as we know, does blood break one's fast if one was to hurt himself? As we know. All right, just to lay down the foundation, that a lot of blood or a little bit of blood does not break one's fast. Just keep that in mind. A little bit of blood that comes out does not break one's fast. If one cuts himself, or if one was to hurt himself, cut himself with a knife, or have you, she cuts herself with a knife, that doesn't break your fast. But an abundance of blood, if it comes out, it breaks your fast. If it's on purpose, in which I'm going to discuss, inshallah. For example, a person now has a nosebleed. Does it break your fast or not? Person has a nosebleed, break your fast? Sister said no. Jayyid. Is that answer correct? It's correct. Answer is correct. A person has a nosebleed, number one, go back to those three principles. What do you see from those three things that I told you to write down? Did he intentionally have a nosebleed? Does anyone intentionally have a nosebleed? Huh? No. No. So due to the fact it wasn't intentional, he had a nosebleed. A lot of people can't even control their nosebleeds. That just came out. It just happened. That does not break your fast. A nosebleed does not break your fast. طيب. Let's just say he intentionally goes to the doctor to donate blood. He wants to donate blood. Does donating blood break your fast? Or doesn't it? Does it or doesn't it? Does it break your fast or it doesn't break your fast? Keep in mind, I'm also add on another key point, which we'll discuss inshallah. It's going to come. A lot of blood that comes out intentionally breaks your fast. A lot of blood. Due to the fact that it's qiyas, it's an analogy of it being similar to a woman's mense. Right? طيب. A lot of blood come out. If it's intentional, of course, a lot of blood. A whole lot. Then it will break your fast. So now a person wants to go donate blood. Does it break his fast or not? It's an emergency too. Let's just say for now, a person, you're in month of Ramadan. You heard that someone needs blood. You have their blood type, or what have you. You say, we need blood immediately. Would you say, for example, no, I'm fasting. I'll give it to him later. What would you do? Go ahead, sisters. Go ahead, try. You can try. I don't mind if you get the wrong, right answer. We all came here to learn. What would you do? جيد. فمن قال الله أعلم فقد أفتى. Whoever says Allah knows best, he has given an excellent fatwa. طيب. The answer is number one. Here, if a person is about to die, we know the qaida usuliyah, the usuliyah and the principle that's in usul. As they say, ad-darurat tubtilu al-mahdhurat. That extreme circumstances that necessitates life or death nullifies prohibitions in that particular instance. Such as if you were in the middle of the desert and there's nothing to eat around you except pork meat. The only thing around you that's right beside you is pork meat. You are about to die. In that particular instance, you can eat a little bit of that what? Pork meat in order to what? Survive, to keep yourself living. In that particular moment. Right? As we know in the month of Ramadan, and as we know, that's an ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentioned that in His book. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ فِي مَخْمَصَةٍ غَيْرَ مُتَجَادِفٍ لِإِثْمٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. That's an ayah. It's clear. Surah Al-Ma'idah. Any rate, Allah, for example, nullifying your fast on Ramadan is without a justifiable excuse from Kitab al-Sunnah is a major sin. No, that's no doubt. It's a major sin. طيب. For now, someone came up to you and says, listen, you have their blood type. It's a life and death threatening situation. They need the blood or they're going to die. Isn't that considered a darura? Isn't that considered a life-death situation? Absolutely. So now in this particular case, take the consideration, the qa'idah, as we said, الضرورات تبطل إيش المحظورات. Those dire, life-threatening situations in specific times nullify the prohibition. طيب. So now, the person should say, in this instance, listen, they cannot say, listen, I'm fast, it's the month of Ramadan, I don't know, find someone else. No. Here you would break your fast. Okay? Break your fast to keep that person alive, number one. Break your fast, donate the blood, and then just make it up after the month of Ramadan. But the point of the matter is that copious, or if you want to say, a huge amount of, or if you want to say, a lot of blood, if it comes out, it nullifies the fast. Intentionally, of course. But here a person did it because of something of an extreme situation that happened. Not because he actually wanted to what? Do something haram, and as a result of it, a lot of blood came out. Fine. But the initial affair is that the fast was broke due to a lot of blood coming out. If it's a lot of blood, if it's intentional, if it's a lot of blood, nullifies the what? It nullifies one's fast. Because it's similar to what? They say either, which is the strongest opinion, is that the hijama of one getting cupped while he's fasting nullifies your fast. Why, everyone? Because a lot of blood is removed when one is getting cupped. That's the reason why you'll find that Ahl Ilm say that the strongest opinion about one fast getting cupped while he's fasting nullifies your fast. We're going to get inside the khilaf in it, don't worry, it's going to come inshallah. But the strongest opinion is that what? It's similar to that. And that's the reason why you'll find that Ahl Ilm saying that if a lot of blood comes out and it's intentional, the person has to remove intentionally, then it breaks his fast. طيب. Just 2 more minutes. Jahilan. طيب. Now let's just say, for example, just get to if you look at those 3 principles I gave everyone, jahil, ignorant. طيب. As we know, jahil can break down to different categories. We'll get into that later. From the way of when one is ignorant, could be what they call jahil bil waqt, ignorant of the time. Ignorant of the time. طيب. Let's just say for a person woke up for Fajr. He ate his suhoor. So he thought that the time, matter of fact, you could use it for either example, doesn't matter. طيب, for Fajr, he's thinking now, he woke up, he looked at his clock or watch or whatever, he's doing his best to know that the time for Fajr came at a specific time. Let's just say, I think Fajr now comes in around 5:03, 5:05, something like that. Does it come in like around that time? طيب. Woke up 4:30, ate something, drank something. So he's in the midst, he's not thinking. His mind is just somewhere else, he's eating. طيب. Looks at his clock, all of a sudden, 5:08. So like I said, his mind was just totally on somewhere else. He's just in the midst of eating, he's eating a sahur. He's totally ignorant of what? The time. طيب. Do we say now your fast is invalid? Is valid or invalid? We say, sisters, no, she said it's valid. Due to what? Jade. Fine, let's reverse it. Person comes in Maghrib. Maghrib, they heard it in the watch, or they seen it. Let's just say the usual time they break their fast around, let's just say, because now it's coming, the time is moving up. 7:40. Let's just say 7:45. The habitual time for the past 3 or 4 days I've been breaking my fast. Let's just say 7:45. طيب. They heard the adhan. They seen people breaking their fast. So he or she broke her fast. طيب. Then all of a sudden they still seen the sun a little bit going down. Fast valid or invalid? Fast valid or invalid? The sister said it's valid. Is that correct or not? Keep in mind, I gave you the 3 principles. All you have, see, this is the reason why when you learn principles, you'll never be able to be swayed. That's the reason why you learn principles. Principles allow you never to be swayed, ever. Whether it be deviate, would you ever to be fall into deviance, and even in certain ahkam as far as in fiqh. Once you learn the principles, you can never be swayed. Keep in mind what I just said. So what did I say? So based upon these 3 things you just learned, what would be the correct answer? She said it's what? Is it valid or invalid? Is it valid or invalid? It's valid. That is the correct answer. It is valid. Why? Because she was jahil of the waqt, the time. She habitually used to break fast 7:45. She checked. That's the time I usually been doing it for 3 or 4 days. Everybody breaks their fast at that same time. Walked in the masjid, everybody breaking their fast. Then went outside, she just happened to see that the sun was still a little bit coming down. That fast is still correct, valid. She was ignorant of the time. And she did her best to find out what it was what? Whether or not the time was correct. She did what was correct. Due to the hadith of Asma bint Abi Bakr. There was a time when it was cloudy. And it was breaking their time, and it was breaking their fast at a certain specific time. They said they wasn't really allowed to see whether or not they were fast or whether or not the time actually came in. He said they did their best to find out whether or not the sun set. So they ate and broke their fast. A couple of minutes later, the sun came out. Sun came out a little bit, came out. So that means that the time would they not come in yet to break, they fast. It says during the time of the message of Allah, we were not commanded to make up the fast. Because we were ignorant of what? The time. Is it clear? We'll talk about that inshallah. Don't worry, it's going to come. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for years. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. طيب. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Gee. So keep in mind those 3 things, and we'll talk about more later. No, I'm going to give it the last question. This is a good question. Gee. Let's just say somebody passed out what they call al-ighma. It's mughma alayh. Person passed out. As we know, what they call it al-ighma. Al-ighma. Means they want to pass out or haven't pass out. So they pass out for about maybe, let's just say 10 minutes. They passed out 5 minutes unconscious or what have you. Something happened. Like, number one, if they just happen to pass out, first question before I get to another one for the second one. Does passing out just for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, does it break your fast? That's the first question. Does it break your fast or not? Jade, the sisters are doing very well. She said no. That's the correct answer. Does it break your fast? Like, let's just say now a person was in a state where they passed out and somebody poured water in their mouth. Look to the 3 principles I gave you. Somebody poured water in their mouth. And they woke up and found that somebody poured water down their mouth. While they passed out. They fast still valid or invalid? Look at the 3 things I mentioned to you. Is invalid? Valid. That is the correct answer. Why? They didn't do it intentionally. Somebody poured it in their mouth. But this is an extra benefit. But that is the correct answer because you didn't do it intentionally. Somebody did it. And especially they woke up, they'd be like, well, why you pour the water in my mouth? I was fasting. Why you do that? So that shows his intention is that he did not what? He was not pleased with what you did. That's what Ahl Ilm says. If it's known from him that that person would have woke up, of course, and he clearly expressed, why did you pour water in my mouth? I was passed out for 2, 3, 4 minutes. You put water in my mouth? I was fasting. Fine. If it finds that that person, of course, he's not pleased with what that person did, of course, the fast is valid. Because he did not intentionally what? Do it. Somebody what? Did it. And we're going to talk about now the person who forced you to break your fast. Somebody put a gun to your head, saying you break your fast now or you what? I'm going to kill you. So now you broke your fast. The person ran away with the gun. Is your fast valid or invalid? Valid. Why? Didn't intentionally do it. Somebody forced you to what? G. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? We'll stop here, inshallah. There's other things I wanted to discuss. We'll do it later, inshallah. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.